Hey guys, it's Dr. Justin Marchegiani. Today we are going to be chatting about magnesium, types of magnesium, benefits, deficiency symptoms, and what you can do about it. So really excited to have today's talk going on here. Evan, how are we doing today?
Hey man, I'm doing well. I got inspired to talk about magnesium because last night I put on some magnesium oil that I purchased. Because I have a lot of clients that say, "Oh, I put magnesium oil on my legs and it really helps me sleep." And I'm like, "Oh, really? How is like 6 sprays of topical magnesium really going to do that much?" But I did it and I really slept much better. So is it placebo? Did it truly do that much? I mean, I think we know the literature shows transdermal magnesium is possible. So maybe it was that magnesium.
Yeah, we do know that there's some data showing that magnesium can help with cortisol levels at night, that it can improve deeper sleep at night. And we also know a large percent of the population is deficient. And we can go into a lot of these things why. So why don't we just dive in? So off the bat, there's data showing that 50% of the population is deficient in magnesium. Now, why is that? A couple things. We know that the soils are becoming more and more depleted based on just lots of pesticides in the soil and Roundup. Roundup's like a mineral chelator. So it hugs the minerals, pulls them away from the plant, and that's kind of their mechanism of killing. Now, when you dump a whole bunch in the soil over time, it's going to really deplete a lot of those minerals in the soil. And if those minerals are hugged or chelated away from the plant, that plant cannot take it up via its mycorrhizal root system. So then you start to have deficiencies in these minerals in the plants because if you can't access it because it's being chelated away by glyphosate or Roundup, it can't go in the plant. And we know minerals get uptake by the root system, and minerals also help with the expression of nutrition in the plant. So for instance, with manganese, deficient manganese soil tends to cause a significant deficiencies in vitamin C in the plants as well. So it's not just the mineral deficiency, that mineral deficiency spirals out into other nutrient deficiencies in the plant. So main mechanism is microbiome of the soil is being affected. And then number two is just processed refined carbohydrates tend to not have magnesium. And when they go into your body, the Krebs cycle tends to need magnesium to metabolize a lot of this sugar. So it's like using a credit card with a really high transaction fee that you already can't pay to begin with. So you have a really high transaction fee, meaning you're using magnesium to burn up that sugar, and that sugar doesn't even have magnesium in it to begin with. So you're creating more deficiencies, one, by the soil, two, by the food, and then three, in general, just with stress. Excess cortisol, excess stress. We will use more magnesium to buffer and to relax and to make GABA and to chill your body out. So more stress will be the other key mechanism that will be causing you to burn up magnesium. Thoughts, Evan?
Great analogy. Yeah, I mean, it really goes to show how many people are deficient in magnesium. The soil piece, that just goes to show more benefits of why you should be eating as much as you possibly can organic. That's a question we always ask our clients. What percent of your diet is organic? Make that number as close to 100% as you can at your house. And also, this time of the year, we're talking in the summertime, a lot of farmers markets are out now. And just because it's a farmer's market food doesn't mean it's organic, though. A lot of farmers still spray. So if you do go to the farmer's market, make sure it's certified organic or speak with them about, did you spray? But if you can go local and organic, you're going to get even more minerals, because we know if you go and buy organic broccoli at Whole Foods that traveled from California and you're on the East Coast, I mean, that's potentially 1 to 2 weeks of travel time. Now, is it still better than no broccoli? Absolutely.
Right.
But if we're talking, we want our people to be the top 1% of health. If you go down the street to the farmer's market, you get broccoli that was cut yesterday. I mean, you're going to have more bang for your buck.
100%. Yep, 100%. So let's talk about magnesium benefits. Okay, so we know magnesium is a relaxer. It helps vasodilate. It relaxes a lot of our blood vessels. So it's going to help with blood vessel and vasculature health. Number two, it has some really good anti-inflammatory benefits. So we do a lot of organic acid testing, and there's this inflammatory metabolite that we look at called quinolinate. And quinolinic acid tends to go up in regards to brain inflammation. Now, why is the brain inflamed? It could be from lipopolysaccharides, from bacterial overgrowth. It could be from gluten issues. It could be from pesticide or mold exposure, mycotoxins. And we see more quinolinic acid, and that comes out in the urine, but that's a sign of brain inflammation. Now, we know that magnesium can actually help decrease quinolinic acid. It decreases brain inflammation. I just know even surgically, Dr. Russell Blaylock, famous neurosurgeon, has lectured on this topic many times. When he would give patients who he operated on, did a cradiotomy or whatever brain procedure it was, he would give them magnesium. He would confer with his colleagues, and these patients that had the supplemental magnesium post-surgery actually healed much better. So we know magnesium really, really good for any neurological stress. So really good things there. Magnesium plugs into the Krebs cycle, which we talked about for energy. That's why when you're eating a whole bunch of sugar without magnesium, you get more depletion. So magnesium is really important for the Krebs cycle and for the energy. I'll let you hit a couple more, Evan. Go ahead.
No, that's huge. That's exactly what I was going to hit on, is that you wouldn't think of magnesium increasing energy, but it can. And there was one study that I had pulled up here that was looking at magnesium deficient women. And when they exercised, they needed more oxygen to complete low level activities. And they had a higher heart rate compared to when their magnesium levels were higher. So when you look at an athlete, if an athlete has adequate magnesium, hopefully that resting heart rate and then the heart rate under activity doesn't have to go as high, because you've got more minerals pumping, and you're mentioning the nerves, you're mentioning the muscles, everything working much better. That's crazy about the surgery. There was also vitamin C. I want to say I read something about vitamin C and magnesium being used in an IV, either pre or post surgery, and that also being a game changer.
100%. And we also know magnesium is really, really important for muscle relaxation. So if you're exercising a lot and your muscles are tighter or more tonic or tight, it's going to really help relax the muscles. We also know magnesium is a natural laxative. Now, I always draw a line because we have to figure out, is the reason why your bowels aren't moving, is it because of SIBO or low stomach acid, or could part of that be just from not having enough magnesium in your system? And magnesium is really, really, really important for that migrating motor complex. It could be that as well. So, having good motility, magnesium is important.
Yeah, we'll give people different forms of magnesium to help move the needle with the bowels, but you still got to work backwards, right? You can't just live on magnesium citrate, for example, every day, because there's probably a root cause that's causing that. Constipation is really, really common. Of course, we know adrenals are tied into the gut and thyroid's tied into the gut, and hypothyroidism may slow the bowels down. So there may be 3, 4, 5, 6 factors that we're looking at to make sure the bowels are moving, but magnesium is definitely a part of the picture.
100%. Yeah, 100%. All right. So in general, let's just kind of dive in. Any other things magnesium can be helpful for? So we also know, I highlighted the big 3, right? We talked about what causes these deficiencies. We talked about pesticide and / Roundup and deficiency of the soil. We talked about stress. We talked about sugar. I think there's one more we should highlight, Evan. I think that would be, in general, maybe 2 more. So just having poor digestion. So if we have gut permeability issues, AKA leaky gut, and we have low hydrochloric acid and enzyme levels, that could be partly caused by SIBO or H. pylori or some type of gut infection. That could easily be driving a lot of deficiency, because we know we need good hydrochloric acid levels to be able to ionize our magnesium so we can absorb it. Ionized minerals, they basically are making the minerals more absorbable so we can break them down.
Well, how about just age? I mean, by the time you're age 50, age 60, you look at Dr. Wright's book on stomach acid. I mean, you're making hardly any stomach acid by that age. So we could just say, hey, if you're above age 50, you're probably magnesium deficient unless you're supplementing. A couple other benefits, I would say headaches, headaches, even migraine headaches, you can really, really improve your symptoms with magnesium. And then we did mention the sleep. I would just say, the what do you call those, Charlie horses in your calves?
Yeah, like cramps, articulations. Yep.
I remember being a kid having those Charlie horses in my calves. I wish I would have had magnesium oil back then. I'm sure it would have helped.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we kind of hit the big major causes, and the last cause last one I didn't go into yet is medications. Medications are a big driving factor of magnesium deficiency. So one of the big ones, I call it the vicious cycle, and you see this happen when you are prescribed a medication and that medication creates a certain nutrient deficiency, and that nutrient actually helps with the symptoms that the medication was prescribed with to begin with. So it creates a vicious cycle. So for instance, a lot of diuretics and beta blockers, they cause you to excrete out magnesium, but magnesium is also really important for relaxing the blood vessels and relaxing the heart. So then you excrete more of that nutrient that actually helps with the heart, helps with the blood pressure and the vasculature. So it's actually perpetuating the more need for that medication longer and longer and longer. So it really creates a vicious cycle. Not the best business model if you're trying to actually get to the root cause.
Yeah, blood pressure drugs too. You mentioned diuretics. You could basically consider blood pressure drugs a diuretic, right? That's kind of the mechanism of them.
Well, you got a couple, right? There's like ACE inhibitors, which are it's blocking the angiotensin converting enzyme that helps raise blood pressure. There's going to be just like water pills, like lisinopril or hydrochlorothiazide diuretics that flush things out. Those are the two big ones. There are ARBs. I think ARBs. Those are the other ones, and then there's beta blockers, which basically there's this calcium ion thing that has to happen in the heart at the sinoatrial and atrioventricular node where the heart beats, and it basically blocks that calcium there, which decreases the heart from pumping as hard. But the thing is, magnesium actually does that naturally. So you have natural beta blockers in the form of magnesium. But you can see these medications can decrease your internal levels of magnesium, and then you need more of the medication to have that physiological effect.
God, yeah. If you're in the business of making money, create a drug that depletes the nutrient that the heart actually needs to do its job. So then they're dependent on the heart drug. I mean, it's just insanity. All right, let's get into symptoms a bit. So it's basically the opposite of all the benefits, right? So we've mentioned benefits like relaxation. Okay, so the symptom or side effect of magnesium deficiency could be anxiety. It could be trouble sleeping. It could be leg cramps or restless leg. It could be blood pressure, like we just talked about. You know, blood pressure issues that are uncontrolled, just hypertension in general.
Yep.
What else? What else is on the bad things, the symptoms?
Yeah, I mean, tremors, vertigo, just hard time swallowing, nausea, tired, fatigue, anxiety, depression. I mean, these are all things that potentially could be there. Sleep issues, epilepsy, asthma, depression, cardiac issues, cardiac pain, PMS. I mean, I see it a lot. Women that have magnesium deficiency, a lot of women that are going into premenstrual symptoms, guess what they start to crave? They start to crave dark chocolate. Why? Because dark chocolate's very high in magnesium. So a lot of women intuitively crave dark chocolate because their body knows that there's certain nutrients in there that will actually help a lot of that cramping. So magnesium is really important for cramping, and we can actually increase it right before a woman starts to menstruate and or during and after to help relax the muscles.
Yeah, just because it's common to have PMS and cramping doesn't mean it's normal. So
Yeah.
we like to say, you know, a woman's menstrual cycle should really just kind of sneak up on you. It should just come and all of a sudden, oh, you're bleeding. There we go. As opposed to a week of misery, irritability, anger. I mean, there's so many issues that
it should just sneak up on you. Absolutely. I want to just highlight one thing before we move on. Let's just go over the family of medications that tend to deplete magnesium. So we have the acid blocking medications, right? Your Prilosec, your Nexium, your Zantac. We already talked about the mechanism why, because we need enough acid to essentially ionize those minerals so we can absorb it. We have the blood pressure medications. We talked about that, whether it's the water pills or whether it's the beta blockers or the ACE inhibitors or the ARB medication. We talked about those.
So Lasix, a lot of people get put on Lasix. Not good.
Yeah, Lasix, that's a diuretic. Digoxin's another one. That's a heart medication that will deplete magnesium. Certain hormones can as well. Birth control pills are known to, and this is another vicious cycle. So a lot of women, they're on birth control pills, maybe an antidepressant, maybe they're on an acid blocker. You can see how if you're on a combination of those medications, you are in trouble. So various hormones, whether it's estradiol or estrogen creams, the various oral contraceptives like the ethinyl estradiol, those are like a lot of the birth control pills like the Yasmin or etc. Various ethinyl estradiol compounds, ADHD medications, the methylphenidate medication. This is like Ritalin, Concerta, Metadate, Adderall, and then also various antibiotics, whether it's amoxicillin or Z-Pak, Levaquin, minocycline. These antibiotics can deplete magnesium. and then also corticosteroids. And corticosteroids have a major effect. They increase blood sugar as well. So when you increase blood sugar, that's going to also affect the metabolism of magnesium. So with various corticosteroids, whether it's hydrocortisone cream or prednisone or methylprednisone, these are all going to be big ones there. And that, I think it's a pretty good way to start. So antacids, acid blocking, blood pressure medications, hormones, oral contraceptives, ADHD medications, antibiotics, and corticosteroids.
Yeah, let's take Johnny, who can't pay attention in school. Let's put him on ADHD medication. So now he focuses, and then he's depleted of magnesium. So now he's anxious. And now the doctor says, well, now we need to calm him down. So let's get him on a benzodiazepine to calm him down in the evening. And then we'll stimulate him in the morning with the ADHD medication.
It's like, it's crazy. I mean, you can see the vicious cycle.
Yeah, it doesn't have to happen this way. I mean, in our case, we could come in, if we see something like ADHD, we could throw more magnesium in. We could throw in chlorella and detox nutrients, help the liver, help the gut. I mean, we work with so many kids that the teachers are like blown away at the progress they see. And this is all relatively simple stuff. I mean, once you get the root causes, you get the clinical data, you get the proper lab testing, you can see what the heck's going on. Then you can fix it, and you don't have to get the kids on drugs. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, especially boys. Boys tend to have the harder time sitting, still for 6 hours as you get into grade school. So boys tend to get prescribed a lot of these medications just easier for them because they tend to have a harder time sitting still and focusing. So be careful. If you have a boy, you really got to watch out because these medications tend to be what's prescribed if they don't comply. So if you're in that kind of public school type of apparatus and your child's not conforming, you got to be careful because this is the vicious medication cycle that may be prescribed to get your kid on track. Now, obviously girls are going to be there too, but you're going to see just more boys being prescribed these medications. So in general, what are things that we can do? So we can obviously make sure we're consuming nutrient-rich magnesium foods. Now, of course, this is going to be like your leafy greens. So of course, leafy greens, celery juice in the morning is great, good potassium, good magnesium. You can do seeds. Pumpkin seeds are amazing. Spinach, Swiss chard, sesame seeds, cashews. So good seeds, packing your kid a snack with good nuts and seeds to go to school is amazing. If we're going to give some carbohydrates, we can do squash, we can do sweet potato. These are all great. We can do various greens, turnip greens, beet greens. These are amazing ways to get extra nutrition in your kid. Also, getting a good magnesium supplement. So if we're on a good supplement, we want to be on like a magnesium malate or a magnesium glycinate. It's a really good way to go. There are other sources like Natural Calm, which is more of a magnesium citrate. It's a little bit more cost effective. I'll use that more for motility purposes. But if we're trying to enhance mitochondrial function and get mitochondrial levels up or magnesium levels up, we'll do like a magnesium dimalate or a magnesium glycinate or even a magnesium threonate. Threonate tends to be really good to cross the blood-brain barrier. So if you have a lot of inflammation and brain fog, magnesium threonate can be great. If we're trying to improve mitochondrial levels and energy and improve mitochondrial levels for magnesium, using magnesium to do that, we'll do a dimalate. And then glycinate's really good as well, just because it's really well absorbed. Glycine and malate are very well absorbed compounds or amino acids. So the cheaper ones are going to be citrate. The most cheap is going to be oxide, typically only for bowel motility. Citrate, more for bowel motility, but some absorption. And then maximal absorption will be dimalate, threonate, and glycinate.
Yeah, I love the threonate. It's huge. The oxide is garbage. If you go to Walmart and you buy magnesium, it's probably going to be oxide. It's around 4% absorption rate. So let's say you go to take 100 milligrams, you may get 4 milligrams, assuming you even digest it. If it's a tablet filled with fillers and corn and gluten and other garbage, you may not even absorb 4 milligrams, so you're probably doing more harm than good if you're taking just a consumer grade product. You always want to go professional grade with this stuff because there's a huge difference. It may say magnesium on the label, but what you're actually getting is, far different in a professional grade formula.
Yep, 100%, 100%.
So ask your practitioner. If you're not working with a practitioner, seek one out. If you want to work with Justin or me, we'd be happy to help you. But if you are working with a practitioner, make sure they're giving you professional magnesium. I'm a huge fan of supplementing magnesium and not just depending on the diet alone because it's tough. I mean, if you look at like pumpkin seeds, for example, I want to say it was around like 100 milligrams for a fourth of a cup. I mean, and how many pumpkin seeds are you really going to eat in a day, right? So if you're doing that and then A sweet potato, I think, was around like 40 milligrams for an average size sweet potato. So let's say you're at 140, you're still nowhere close to getting that 400 or 500 milligrams, right? So I think it's important to just throw a little extra in the hatch, even if you're just supplementing like 1 to 300, 400 milligrams a day. To me, that's a good insurance policy.
100%. And I would just say, let's kind of go through kind of the RDA. Now, the RDA, I've heard it said many times before, RDA stands for rat, drugs, and assumptions, meaning a lot of the studies are done on rats or animals, and they're kind of like a minimum assumptive value. So kind of like take the RDA with a grain of salt, and you probably want to have a couple of 100 milligrams of buffer room in there, because we want to have enough nutrition for optimal health, not just to prevent symptoms. So in general,
explain what the RDA is. People are like, what is he saying? The RDA.
Explain what RDA is recommended dietary allowances. So this is based off of the data that's available. Hey, this is how much you need this is how much magnesium you should take in a day. Okay, that's the general gist. Now, for your typical adult, anywhere between 19 to 30 years old, a male is going to need 400 milligrams. A female is going to need 310 milligrams. It goes up slightly as you go above the age of 30. It goes to 420 for men, 320 for women, and it kind of stays there. You're actually going to see a decrease amount during pregnancy. I'm not sure if when they say that, Evan, if the pregnancy is in addition to a typical amount. I'm not sure if they're meaning an additional. I would always typically go up. So they're saying during pregnancy and lactation, 350 to 310. That's a drop in what the typical woman would need. So I'm going to guess that that's going to be, we're going to do on top of that. We're going to do more on top of that.
Or maybe they just said that to try to be conservative, but I would say that it's even more important during pregnancy.
Yeah, I guess there's an increase if you're a adult female from 310 to 350 during pregnancy, but only 40 milligrams. I don't know. So in general, you're looking at 400. I typically recommend 500 milligrams a day of supplemental, or at least getting that amount of magnesium. Typically, we'll cut that in half and we'll supplement about 2 to 250. So I like getting about half of it supplemented. That way it takes a lot of the stress off your back. So if you get 4 to 5 servings of vegetables a day, maybe a little bit of nuts or seeds, you're good. Some people have allergy issues, right? They have oxalate issues, or they have allergies to nuts and seeds. And then supplements are going to be even more important. But typically, if you're getting your 5 or 6 servings of greens a day, maybe a handful of nuts, you're going to be pretty darn good. And again, it cuts in half. If you're younger, you're looking at anywhere between a baby at 75 to a teenager at 250. And it jumps up from age 13 to 14 from 250 to 400. So there's a big increase in the amount of magnesium as you go from a kid to teenage years, and then teenage to adult. So big increases. And I think part of the reason you see ADHD issues or hyperactivity or attention deficit issues is because you have this big metabolic demand increase at age 8 to 9. It doubles, and then it doubles again at 13 to 14. So that's perfect years for the end of elementary school, end of middle school. Those magnesium demands go up a lot. So if we don't have enough supplemental magnesium, your kid could be deficient, and that could drive more of these ADHD medications. Obviously sugar, gluten, dyes, preservatives, artificial sweeteners. These are all going to be other mechanisms that are going to add to that stress bucket, so to speak.
Yeah, well said. That's a really interesting thought, that we see the change in these kids. It's like, when they got to middle school, all of a sudden they couldn't pay attention anymore. It's like, well, demand went up. If diet didn't change or didn't improve or supplements weren't added, now all of a sudden you're even more deficient, and then the symptoms manifest more than they would have before. Super interesting point, man.
And I've noticed kids' diets tend to get worse, right? When the kids are at home more, and they have they're more under their parents' thumb, and they haven't been exposed to a whole bunch of marketing. They're eating better. As they start hanging out with kids that eat junky food, they want to be part of the in crowd. They're eating worse. They're also exposed more to commercials and being out and about and being promoted and propagandized to by the junk food industry. Then you get to more of the junk, which we already know creates more functional deficiencies.
Yep. So if you got a teenager and they just got their license and now they're running around going to all the fast food joints with their friends, have them listen to this. We work with a lot of teenagers. It's really fun for me because I'm like, hey, look, if you can get this diet thing figured out now when you're 16, as opposed to waiting till you're 46 and miserable, like, you're going to be in way better shape, way more successful your brain's going to work better. You'll be smarter than your peers. You'll get better grades. I mean, when you frame it like that, usually they're more compliant as opposed to mom says you need to eat your vegetables.
100%. And it becomes really tough because I get it. A lot of kids may feel ostracized, or they just see their other friends eating so much junk, and it's like they want to feel included. It's just tough. We have a massive deficiency in education, especially in and around the area of health and nutrition. So you have a lot of people that are just walking around clueless, and they're kind of just poisoning themselves in a very, kind of slow motion type of way. So it's easy. The more educated you feel, the more ostracized you may feel. I get that. So just do your best to get yourself feeling optimal. Get the kryptonite out of your system, right? Kryptonite's what makes Superman weak. So get the kryptonite out, and then do your best just to connect with people that are on a similar wavelength, so you don't feel like you're the high maintenance person when you want to eat some green vegetables or some nuts or seeds or healthy dietary supplements. So just try to find people that resonate kind of where you're at. Therefore, you feel more supported in what you're doing.
Good advice. Yeah, I was always like the black sheep, when I was working at offices, eating, what I consider my conventional diet, like a bison steak and peas and butter. And people would get pizza and sandwiches for lunch. Like, oh, don't you want a sandwich? It's like, no, I don't. So if you're getting judged for your food choices and you're eating good stuff, then you just need to change your circle. That's good advice.
100%. Awesome. Well, is there anything else you want to chat about here, Evan? I'm going to put some of the references that we use for this article. I'll put that RDA screenshot up there as well, so everyone can see it and look at it. We'll put it in the transcription page. So if you guys are listening to this on our podcast or YouTube channel, click below and look for that transcription, and then you guys can get more of this information there as well.
I would just add, this is one, we like to zoom out a lot and look at the big picture, but this is one example where I think it's really important to zoom in and hyper focus on magnesium, because it does so many things. There's so many enzymatic processes and reactions and things that are happening. Magnesium is such a catalyst for brain chemistry and neurotransmitters, as you mentioned, mitochondria. I mean, magnesium dabbles in every part of your body. So I think this is one example where you have to zoom in a bit. We often make fun of things when people who zoom too far in and they miss the big picture, but this is where you really need that microscope. You got to focus on this issue because it can change your life. And you can measure this too. So you can look at the red blood cell magnesium levels on blood work, and there's other ways you can look at magnesium as well. If you want help, you've got issues. If it's just anxiety, it could be something as simple as magnesium. It could be gut infections. I mean, there could be mold issues. I mean, there's a ton of other things going on. So if you do have some of the symptoms we discussed, like blood pressure problems, you're facing being put on medication, etc., reach out to Justin or me. We'd love to help you. You can find Justin's info in his calendar link, check his availability. That's at his site, justinhealth.com. And you can work online around the world. And my site's evanbrand.com. We love helping people. We're very honored and blessed to be in the position we are. So thank you all for tuning in.
Excellent. Oh, also, we did a whole thing on flow therapy a few weeks ago, and we talked about the magnesium sulfate, getting magnesium sulfate to the Epsom salts that are going to be in a float tank, or magnesium sulfate through the Epsom salts you put in your standard bath. That's going to be an amazing way to get more magnesium, especially if you have gut issues, because when you put it in the water like that, you just have your whole surface area to absorb it, right? So that you're going to have a ton of absorption. Some questions came in, how much? I'm not sure. There's probably some studies on that, but that's probably going to increase your absorption the most. And I think if you're having a long, hard, stressful day at work, instead of coming home and drinking that alcohol, just go take a Epsom salt bath or head over to your local float tank business and get some exposure to magnesium via transdermal to the skin.
It would be cool to do but it'd be hard, right? Because there's other variables. Like, what if that person started doing like a green juice every day and they got more magnesium that way? But let's just say if no other variables changed, it'd be cool to take a pre-blood sample for the intracellular magnesium, have someone float, once or twice a week for like 6 weeks, and then retest and see what they did. I guarantee you'd see pretty significant improvements. I mean, you're talking 800 pounds usually of Epsom salt. That's insane.
Exactly. And then last thing is testing for magnesium. So you have your typical magnesium serum, which will be on like a comprehensive metabolic profile. Magnesium serum, we want above 2. But magnesium serum looks at, like, imagine you're in a pool, right? And you're in a little inner tube, right?
Yep.
Right. And then you have the water, right? The water is the serum. So think of magnesium serum as testing the magnesium in the water, right? And then magnesium, red blood cell magnesium is actually looking what's in the inner tube, right? So the cell is the inner tube, the serum is the blood. So serum, it's okay, but we want to see what's in the inner tube. So red blood cell magnesium is ideal. We want that greater than 5 or greater. And we typically can also use other tests like a Nutri-Eval or a SpectraCell, which is kind of a lymphocyte stimulation test where we can get another intracellular window into what those nutrient levels are at. But those kind of your general gist in regards to magnesium and how to test for it. Anything else you want to say about testing, Evan?
No, I think you covered it. Were there any other questions related? I didn't have those pulled up.
I would just say we kind of hit a lot of them already. I would say if you're under more stress, you can't go wrong taking more magnesium. Magnesium helps facilitate GABA, which helps kind of turn on the parasympathetic nervous system and relaxes you. Some people, if you get too relaxed with magnesium, taking it more at night can be better because then you're going to go to sleep. So it's great. So if it's too sedating for you, take it more at night after work, kind of when you're doing your wind down routine. It's a great way to do it. I think we pretty much hit on a lot of major things. B6 is another important cofactor we like with magnesium because it helps with neurotransmitter synthesis. So B6 is really good. Typically, when people are stressed, B vitamins are equally depleted with magnesium because of just how stress works. Magnesium and B vitamins are part of the Krebs cycle, and they're going to get burnt up when you're stressed. So it's very possible that you need to be taking a good B complex along with your magnesium just because the stress may be affecting all of those different parts of the metabolic system.
Good call. Good call.
All right.
Well,
excellent.
let's wrap it up. That was good. I mentioned the website. So justinhealth.com. If you want to reach out to Justin, evanbrand.com is my website. And we'll be back next Monday. I'm sure you're going to do something in between now and then, but I'll be back Monday with you.
Excellent. If you guys like it, thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, give us a share. We love it. If you're enjoying this, think about friends or family that could benefit as well. And then also put your comments down below. Love to hear what your comments are. This helps guide us in choosing future topics that we want to chat about. So we really want your input. Thanks, everyone. Have a phenomenal day. Take care, Evan.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.